tell us a little bit about why you're here and yeah. Does that work? You want to start, Sunita? Press the button.
Hi, my name is Sunita Garrett. My pronouns I like saying her, she, but I'm not sure. So, yeah, okay. I think the third question.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, I've been working in some capacity in home services for 25 years. I started out, I don't know. Oh. I started out working, okay, I started out with domestic violence survivors, which is one of the hardest groups of individuals to have. Despite information or paperwork and documentation, they're still hard to get out. I moved into homeless services because my classmate, who was providing healthcare services to domestic violence survivors, got me into homeless services. From there, I moved into housing first, which, when it was introduced, my first question was, okay, well, when you get them in the house, what services are going to be available to them when they get housed? Because people need supportive services when they stay housed. My answer was, well, this is voluntary. And I said, okay, so help me understand, if you put a cookie jar on the table, and you can see the cookies in the cookie jar, and you tell all the children, don't come anywhere near this cookie jar, what do you think they're going to do? That's right. So if you take away these services from someone, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to return to homelessness. It has to be combined. You have to combine the services. You cannot have housing without health, and you can't be healthy without being housed. Period.
Hi, my name's Dina. I have lived experience of over 12 years. I was homeless off and on for about 8 years, raising 3 boys. And I was a domestic violence survivor. So I stepped up and made myself homeless by leaving my ex-husband, and it changed my world. And I had no clue where I was going, but I knew that I just had to keep this all together. And so when I finally got housed permanently, I met an amazing woman out in Fremont who had put a business card on my RV. And without that business card, I wouldn't be where I am today, because when I started working for healthcare for the homeless in 2022, I got housed the same week. And it changed everything for me because I knew what I was going to do for the rest of my life. We are a little over 2 years later. I'm still housed. I have Section 8, and I'm now moved on to another company in Livermore. I work for City Serve, and I am now serving the homeless in my own community of where I was invited to be housed. And I feel it's very important to help those people become housed, because if there's not someone there to hand you that business card, there's no hope. I was hopeless for years, been on many waiting lists, had no direction, didn't know what I was doing, and then it came to me. I already knew what I was doing, I just wasn't doing it the right way. I wasn't changing my address every time I moved from county to county with Section 8. And some people don't tell you that's the most important thing to do, because you could lose your voucher by one letter coming in the mail. And I missed my voucher twice. So I got it this third time. I know what I'm doing now, and I've been able to help other people get vouchers, stable housing, and help them grow from being someone who's living down on the creek to now people who have jobs and are moving forward. And I work here with Daniel. I brought him with me today, and he's a wonderful person. And he gets out there into the encampments and brings them into the office for me now. He started taking over the encampments, and I'm there for when they are ready to take those steps.
Hello everybody, my name is Melissa Moore, and I am founder of Rising in Self-Empowerment. So my journey was 7 years in homelessness in East or Mid-County, different places. I was on the streets, encampments, and RVs under overpasses, and a lot of ups and downs, rock bottoms, and a lot of empty promises from service providers that people would come to, we never see them again. There was no street medicine teams at the time, so we would see a nurse every 6 months, a nurses, and she's awesome, I think they're very nice when she did. Would come in with a worker of hers, and they had a bottle of water and a little bag of chips, and then, but they would take, you know, for the people that were sick in the camp, they would take notice of them and take the vitals and do what they could, but, that's about it. That's the extent of the street medicine program. And, so during my homeless journey, like I said, many rock bottoms, many encampment sweeps, you know, police harassment, things like that, community backlashes. It takes piece of you. We hear over and over again that you're a criminal, you're no good, you're a vagrant, you're a bum, you're lazy, all these things. And so during those 7 years, I was trying not to let it get to me. I always knew that there was going to be a way out. I always believed that. I always held on to that. And I had that little bit of faith, the mustard seed. I had that mustard seed, and at times that's all I had. And I took two gentlemen from St. Vincent de Paul when I was at the end of the month, towards the end of the month, I ran out of food, and I made that call, and they came in, and we met at Starbucks actually. And they talked to me, and they were, you know, we were talking, and they had just lost the camp. They were sponsoring me. They said, "Well, how many people are down at your camp?" I said, "About 20 of us." And they're like, "Well, you know, we'd love to pick you up and sponsor you." And I said, "We'd love to have you come in, you know, weekly and bring us items. That would be amazing." And they came in with no judgment. They came in with nothing but love and service, and brought us food every week. I distributed, and Christmas time, they put their Thanksgiving, we had 2 Thanksgiving at camp due to them bringing food down for us for Thanksgiving. And Christmas time, we got tents and a lot of supplies and different things. And they gave me the hope. They reminded me that, again, who I was. You know, you get lost, you forget who you are when you're out there. It's a daily struggle. It's a daily struggle just to survive, just to figure out where you're gonna get food. Weather's coming in, you gotta fortify your site, you gotta make sure tents are, tarps are tight, you gotta dig ditches, just everything. There's no, you don't live. You're living, but you don't have a life. It's just a struggle. And they brought me hope. That was my first step out, was they brought me hope. And yeah, that happened. And then our camp was swept in 2019, and 40 of us were out in the streets of our little community in Pasco Valley. And the cat outreach, the pushing carts down the street with all the things in it. Oh my God, what do you think were gonna happen? We just gonna disappear, and you know, you flush us out. And that's when my advocating really started. And in 2020, year of COVID, I made a county contact and started helping deliver PPE gear and information to the residents when there was no other street outreach on the ground, because they were all quarantined. You know, they were all kind of said, you know, don't go out there. I was out there. And through my county contact and ACH's support, I was able to freelance on my bicycle, going to different encampments. And from that point on, I actually got a job offer from DVHC, University of Vasquez Health Center, to be a community health outreach worker. I took that. I got a car, and my Section 8 came in the first month I started working at DVHC later on that year. So I did that. I was a community health outreach worker with DVHC for a little over 3 years. And it was an amazing experience. And being able to bring a nurse, a PA or an NP and a nurse, and a case manager and ECHW out to the camps as a multidisciplinary team, and bring all that to the encampments together, change lives and save lives. And it's still saving lives. Street medicine is an evolving program, and just this keeps expanding, and it's amazing. And so actually I'm on the board of Street Medicine Institute too, which is an honor beyond belief. And so, yeah, I branched off from there and founded Rise. And so what we do is street outreach, basically the same thing we're doing. I just have a medical team with me. And I left because of advocacy. I couldn't have a voice within TDHC's umbrella because I didn't want to get them in trouble by saying something that I shouldn't say. And so, and I always say things. I always like to talk, and I always, you know, stick up for my tribe and advocate whether people want to hear it or not. I'll show someone want to talk to me more. If I'm reading this, but no, that brand, it was in my heart, so I had to branch off and help them and start Rise. And so my homeless journey basically walked me into my purpose. I'm grateful for my journey. I am grateful for my journey because it walked me into my purpose, and that's why I'm here today, because of my homeless journey.
Hi, I'm Kathy Ralph, and I do not have lived experience on the streets. I have a brother, though, who did for many years with mental health issues. I had a husband who had mental health issues and committed suicide. And as a result of that, along with my social worker training, after a stint working for the county for many, many years, decades, teaching social work at Cal, I retired and met the gentlemen that were helping Melissa. Initially, we live in a neighboring parish. And they brought Melissa to one of our meetings. I listened to her and said, this is what I have to get hooked up with next in my retirement. This was right before COVID hit. We were going to have a little series of classes for our St. Vincent de Paul group to learn about homelessness and the legal implications involved in that. And then COVID hit and nobody could get out of their house and the teacher couldn't come to us and it was a mess. But the gentlemen that were coming out on a regular basis to visit the encampments kept doing what they were doing. And because of Melissa, I joined them and have been doing it every weekend for the past 4 years. And what my mission is to convince our San Leandro City Council that they not only have to get a weather-related shelter together, because this year they haven't found one for winter yet, but they need to sponsor a lot more housing. And so I'm, with a shaky voice, often approaching my city council to talk to them and hold them accountable on those ideas. And it went from last year where I was very hopeful because housing was their #1 of 3 priorities, to having a new mayor come in and housing has slipped to #5 of 5 priorities. And I'm saying they're going backwards, and I'm not endorsing anybody who has public safety as their first priority, because I think that's playing to pandering to people's general feelings of unsafety, and that globally, we are some of the safest people around, except for our homeless people. They're being harassed and persecuted all around, and that needs to stop. And I will continue to say that to them. So part of the reason that they brought me on board here, I think, is to say, I have one of those voices like Melissa's, is that it's relentless, and I don't care, because I'm retired and you can't fire me. Agency that can tell me to be quiet because we'll lose our funding because you're such a loudmouth. So here we go. I write emails, I write letters. I come to the city council and I say, I'm not supporting you unless you're supporting housing. If you want my endorsement, because a lot of people know who I am because they see me around, but on other groups and stuff, then you have to earn my endorsement. I'm not just endorsing you because you're a Democrat. I'm not one. I haven't ever been anything of a party, but I vote in every election and I will influence voters. I've been bringing lately voter registration material to the encampments when we bring those weekly hot meals, grocery bags. That's sort of how I got started in this, thanks to Melissa. And we'll keep on going for as long as I have breath and 2 legs that'll carry me around to these places. And I thank you all for the work you're doing to continue to support this and for being receptive to people like me who come in without the lived experience, but not only gratitude for the gifts that we're bringing in, but also the motivation and the will for us to keep on doing this and to keep appealing to the powers that be, so that they pay attention and understand that we work, we listen, we vote, and we're going to turn this business around, because all of those latest Supreme Court decisions and everything you were talking about before are so discouraging, but this is encouraging. So thank you.
So my name is Freeway. I use they them pronouns, and I'm also chronically late to everything. My excuse this time is that I was in class though. So I got my start with organizing with the Wood Street Commons I'm sure y'all are pretty familiar with that, so I'm just gonna skip ahead the history lesson. About, about 8 or 9 weeks ago, I took a step back from organizing in that role because an opportunity presented itself to foster my number one passion, which is harm reduction. And I've been, enrolled in this course with Springboard Health Labs called Chili, which is a community health leadership initiative. And basically it's everything that I feel like is important. I'm tired of watching my friends die in the streets. I know that's a little bit of a heavy intro, but I'm sick and tired of watching my friends die because of reasons that could be easily prevented. And I also have one of those voices that, as long as there's not a microphone in my hand and I'm not shaky and nervous, I have no problem telling people exactly what I feel like needs to be said. And right now that is that people are dying because of inequities in healthcare, because of inequities in drug users' healthcare. And that is a huge faction of the unhoused. And no, it's not, the two are not mutually exclusive. You don't have to be a drug user to be homeless. You don't have to be homeless to be a drug user. However, there is a large overlapping. And if we continue to ignore these voices, a lot of people are going to continue to die that don't need to. That's it.
Thank you all so much for your introduction. So we have about 20 minutes left of this panel, and I just say that so that we are all aware. But I have basically two questions that I wanted to ask. And the first of those is, if you could describe for us the realities on the ground of encampments and what kind of, a little bit about what life maybe looks like on encampments, but more than anything, kind of what responses have you seen to encampments? What experiences have you seen or had that way?
As a service provider, I'm not going to tell you for whom, but as a direct service provider, I was on Wood Street when the announcement was made for the removal. I was also on Wood Street when all of the agencies came down to help, starting with Operation Dignity. And I noticed that that was the only time I ever saw them, any of them, outside of the CalCap, outside of CalCap, they come often. Lifelong comes often. Those are the only two entities or agencies that I see them. So that when the removal came, I went on vacation because I'm not going to watch that because I know the side I'm going to be on. I'm going to get arrested and I'm going to lose my job. Period. So coming back from seeing all of the communities built on their street to come back to see the street being empty, it was a two-for. It was like, wow, this looks nice. It reminds me of when I grew up as a child in that neighborhood. But on the other side, that's effed up the way it went down. Period. And to say, for those that have the thoughts that people who are homeless have put themselves in that situation, and then they want to pull out a Bible and say, well, God said that. First thing I'm gonna say is, where's the stranger? Who's your neighbor? Who have you fed? Who have you cared for? If you can't answer those questions, don't. And it drives me crazy to hear these stories, even Catholics, and know that we're all out here doing this work, and we're not fighting anything. We are resolving our homelessness. There's nothing to fight. It's to resolve. That's what I wanna see. I wanna see resolution, revolution. Let's not televise it like you said. Do it, you know? And that's where I'm at. I think it's important that we see people as people, human beings. I remember as a child, my grandmother, I grew up in San Francisco. We would pass homeless people, my grandmother would always say, there before the grace of God go, you remember that, because that could be you, any day, any time, any moment. Don't ever disrespect someone that is outside, because that could be you. When you get on the bus, you say hello to the bus driver. When you open the door, you say, there you go. You don't expect anything back, but that humility, that humanity, that's what we gotta get back to. And seeing that and hearing that case and seeing the outcome of that, it's about housing justice. That's it. That's where I'm at.
Well, my realities are out in Livermore, not out here. And we have Caltrans coming through routinely every 2 weeks and cleaning out encampments. They clean them out, they move right back in. They need somewhere to stay. I think it was the second or third round of encampment cleanups after the announcement, people started to get arrested that had warrants because they started removing these names. So we're starting to see that. We're seeing more people come into the office and want help because they're being cleaned up more. We're able to connect with people. My coworker was able to get someone to take a shower after like 6 months, hadn't taken a shower, and get them into the shelter to go in there and do things like that. Because when you live in an encampment, you don't really take care of yourself. You put medical behind you, and some people live for years. My last homeless stint when I was homeless was for 3 years, and I finally got going back to medical appointments and getting everybody that I work with to see how important it is to take care of yourself, even if you are on the streets. And Livermore opened a new shelter. There's only 20 beds, but it's also open during the day so people can come and shower and do their laundry. And that's made a great, big difference, because there's also a hot meal they can come and sit down for 5 hours that's open now, and not just a little tiny 2-person crew with 2 other people falling behind delivering meals. Yeah. We're actually able to do that when it's raining and stuff, but still go to the encampments, bring some meals with us, and get people to connect. It's the most important thing, because if they don't connect with someone that cares and wants to help them move forward, they're just another name in the computer that they call once a month to see if you're still homeless. And that's not what we really want for people. We want to get out there face to face and get them ready for housing if they're willing to take it. If they're willing to take a shelter bed, get that going, because if they don't, eventually everyone's going to go to jail for just being homeless. And it shouldn't be illegal to just lay down and take a little rest on the grass during the day and have the cops come and bug you, you know? Now we have people that have to make sure they pay attention for the signs, because they come and steal everything from you. If you leave for work that day and you didn't see the sign posted, they only posted 2 days in advance sometimes. So they come through really quick now, and they lose everything, and we can't replace their tents anymore. They don't want us giving out tents. They don't want us giving out blankets and stuff. You know, don't encourage them to be homeless. I want to encourage them to take the steps to getting homeless. Yeah. So we have seen a big uptick from other cities coming in too. People coming in that were from other cleanups, from Oakland, San Francisco, coming out to Livermore. Our numbers have gone up. We do a lottery every night, similar to First Pres for the shelter, and I'm seeing 6, 10, 12 people. Some nights the numbers are really high, especially on the night they can get a permanent bed. When we first opened in January, you were seeing 2, 3 people waiting for a bed. Now you're seeing people out there every night that haven't gotten a bed in 2 weeks because there just isn't any beds. No one's giving them up anymore. The shelters are one shelter for homeless individuals is full all the time. And it really hurts not to have the beds out there, and the county hasn't really built the housing to get these people off the streets. There's no answer. They're just, let's clean them and move them along and see where they go. Maybe they won't stay here. And I really resent that and really don't like the way they're doing it, but it makes us go out there and connect with them even more than we could before. And we're seeing some people actually taking the steps to want to be housed.
Nice in encampment, what it looks like. I've been through several and honestly, so it's dirty, it's uncomfortable, it's bare minimum, you learn how to be basic, simple, humble. But you also learn how strong you are and resilient you are and adaptable you are. You have to make things out of nothing sometimes, you have to make things out of whatever's around. You don't have the option of going to the store and getting, material to make things or whatever you need to do fixing, so you use your imagination. And like I said, life in encampment is a struggle. It's a struggle every day. It's a struggle to keep clean, to keep in rain, when the rain comes, the mud gets in everything. Try to keep at least your inside your tent and your clothes clean. No, you have mud everywhere. When it's hot, sometimes you swell. It's miserable. But there is a sense of cohesion among the people that you live with. And if you're in it, it's a, even if it's a camp of a few people up to, like, we had 40, then people were slept in. It's a family. You become a street family at that point. And you watch each other's backs for the most part. And people that don't watch your back, and people that are out there, trying to run, we kick them out. We get rid of them in our streetway. We don't welcome anymore. But it is an ugly scenario, and it should be. It's inhumane. It is inhumane, and nobody should have to live like that. We're not a third world country. This is America. Why are we allowing our people, our veterans, our seniors, our disabled, indigenous, why are we allowing anybody, let alone, people, especially the veterans, that's the big thing. They serve our country, for God's sake. They put their lives to serve our country, and we're allowing them to be on the streets with just the basic, and then now the streets, and you're taking everything away from them. When they serve you, they could die they would willingly have died for you, yet these people are taking away everything from them, and it just amazes me that the humanity's gone. Where's our humanity? It doesn't exist anymore. I look around, I'm like, wow, just, and then governor and then grants passed and everything like that. At first advocacy, we had some places, grants stand on. We had some things that we could say would stop encampment sweeps, they would listen. Now it's just a free for all. The encampment sweeps have just gone, they've just increased at least tripling in size of amounts during Alameda County since the governor signed that executive order. And there's no rhyme or reason, there's no oversight, there's no nothing, especially Caltrans, they're the worst. They're absolutely the worst. And they mock the people that when they come in, they take their stuff, they mock them, and they make fun of them and sarcastic comments and demeaning looks. And I watched sweeps happen where they take everything, family heirlooms, medications, and burn paperwork that they need to get housed, and pets have been stripped of and put in dumpsters. Okay, pets, and that's people rely. People rely on those animals. That's their comfort animals. That's part of their family. When we were stripped in 2019, two days later, County Sheriff's came in and killed 2 of our puppies without even a word. They came in with their guns drawn to a splinter camp, and they were just trying to find a place to stay for a few days so we could figure out what they figure out where they're going. And the sheriffs came in with the guns drawn and shot the animals, and then said, Alameda County Sheriff's put your dogs. Wouldn't let the residents go to the animals as they were suffering because they had to process everybody first. To me, that's not acceptable. That's when I started demanding accountability and transparency for law enforcement. That infuriated me, and it just, the sweeps are killing people. They're killing people. It's a whack-a-mole game. We're just moving people around, shuffling people around, and putting people in jail, criminalizing homelessness, and giving people fines that can't pay it anyways. And now they're in the legal system. For what? For what? For what? What's the solution there? What's it doing? What's that accomplishing? Anything? If anybody can tell me one good thing that's accomplishing, that's going towards solving the homeless problem, I'm willing to listen. I'm open to listening, because it's a game of, like I said, whack-a-mole, and nobody's getting anywhere. People are dying. because of re-traumatization, people are killing themselves, suicide, because they can't take anymore, they sound the end, they're putting themselves on tracks and getting hit by trains. They're done, they're tapped out. And so that's what camp looks like, and that's what these sweeps look like, is just, there's no logic to them. I mean, get rid of them, get rid of them where? Where do we go? Where do we go? That's the question, where do we go and for what? What's this all about? And so we need to figure out how we can change this, how we can make this work, and how we can forward people into interim housing. Sanctioned encampments is what it went, that's my holy grail, my advocacy, sanctioned encampments. Let's get a place where we can put everybody that's being swept, so we can offer services and they feel safe, then be willing to open up and be open to services, to be able to concentrate and you know, get themselves in order so they can accept the services. You can't do it on the street when you're out there in camp, waiting for them to be sweeping you. You can't think of, the only one thing you think of is how to hide, how to, you know, be incognito, how to keep your stuff. So you're service resistant because of that, you're trying to survive. Let's get sanctioned encampments, you know, in place where everyone can go to be safe and not be swept, and then we can start to figure out how we can get these people help, you know, medical help, housing help, resources, safety net services, all in one place, with sanitation people out houses, low hygiene units, garbage pickup. It's not even rocket science, it's 1 + 1 = 2. It's kindergarten math is what it is. And we have the money, don't tell me we don't have the money. We all know we have the money. It's going to service providers that are not providing service. So let's make them accountable too. Let's call the elephant out in the room. The service providers, the people that are running the interim facilities, the people that are trustee housing navigators, let's make sure they're doing their job and make sure they're honoring those guests with dignity also. That's what we need to do.
Ability, yes. Okay, so some of this talk led me to think back about having done a little bit of my ancestry, tracing back to a great-great-grandfather whose first appearance on my ancestry was as a 10-year-old in an almshouse in Maine. And that was, where did he go from there? How did he wind up there, etc. So I feel like I'm working with some of his descendants as me being one of his descendants, but also with other people who are dispossessed. And that we're just looking for opportunities to get people into housing, to offer them the services that they need, as my ancestor needed at some point in his life. We don't have almshouses anymore. At some point in the 1700s, we had a better set of infrastructure for caregiving of people that didn't have a home. Now, it was cruel, and I'm sure that they, you know, did their best to, you know, be judgmental about the people who were there. But I'm trying to help us find compassionate ways to deliver those services. But when we're talking about the life in the camps now, going out to 8 different camps every week, carrying hot meals, carrying groceries, carrying toiletries, what we're seeing is the result of the sweeps. We can't find the people who were there last week. There's no trace of them. Now, maybe they've moved around the corner or over the berm. We will try to find them if they're that close. And then the following week, they're back again. Hooray, we can find them again. But they've lost stuff along the way. And that's a part of this unconscionable part. So when you were talking before about who have you housed, who have you fed, who have you given water to that was thirsty, that was our gospel in, at church a few weeks ago. I was hoping it got through to a lot of minds that were sitting in that church, you know, listening to this, that it has practical application to today. And who are you voting for that put those Supreme Court justices there to make such an unconscionable decision that allows us, gives us permission to mistreat people, so that the camps today, as I'm seeing it, are people more and more desperate, more and more dirty. But my part is, when people who are housed ask me how I'm doing this and why I'm not scared, and I'm like, I'm not scared because nobody has tried to harm me in doing this when I go there. The San Leandro police used to tell the contract agency not to send their people out to the encampments without one or both of the dedicated to homeless services officers. And oh my God, I said, we've been doing it for 4 years and not one bad thing has happened. Why do we need an armed officer to come with us? You guys, lighten up, get out there and do the work. The worst thing I think was a guy approaching me from far down the tracks and whacking himself with some big, long sword-looking thing. And as he came close to us, he hollered out, "Are you giving out food?" And we said, "Yes." And I did stand on the other side of my car while I talked to him. But he said, "Well, can I have some?" And I said, "I'd feel a lot better about it if you put the machete down." And he said, "Oh, I didn't even think about what that must have looked like." And he let it clatter onto the tracks. And he said, "I had this itch on my back and I was trying to get it." He said, if I had a cop with me, how would that have turned out? Real bad. I don't want to witness that. We already had a guy in San Leandro shot by a cop after 47 seconds of interaction in a Walmart. Okay, so they didn't even try to do de-escalation. There were customers yelling, "We'll pay for his stuff." No, they didn't give anybody a chance. So from that point of view, I'm trying to convey to house people, I'm not scared because there's no reason for me to be scared. You don't need to be scared. You need to be doing something about compassion for the people who are our neighbors. And they are all our neighbors. Bring them in. We can work with them. When they're housed, they're going to get attention to all the things that they need to be doing to help their lives improve. They will.
Is it okay if I skip ahead to the last question?
Yes. The last question is like, what would you like to see in response that you haven't seen?
And that's what I was going for, because I feel like it's pretty clear how the encampments look. It's pretty clear what the problem is. What do we need to do to fix that problem? First of all, we need to get rid of the fucking police, excuse my language. First and foremost, there is absolutely zero reason that an armed officer needs to be present while somebody is being traumatized, having their entire lives upturned, and displaced. There is no way that that's going to be helpful. If you were in that situation and you were having everything that you owned, your wheelchair, your medicine, your father's remains thrown in a dumpster, and a man with a badge and a gun was sitting there agitating you, that's not exactly going to be helpful. The police presence is not just affecting the encampments, and this order is not just affecting the encampments. It's affecting how life on the street in general is lived. If you don't believe me, go out to San Francisco sometime. I spend every day there. I have watched so many of my friends physically, visibly deteriorate. And there's no services. What there are a lot of, though, are police presence. You cannot stop to fix your bag or repot your plants, as we recently found out, without having a swarm of cops and deputized ambassadors coming in and harassing you. Deputized ambassadors, just do it. So the guys that work for Civic Center with little vest on and everything, that have no training in de-escalation, no training in any sort of like conflict resolution, they're basically being given deputization by the police. They're riding around in the cars with them, and they're jumping out with them to confiscate people's belongings that they believe are stolen, that they're trying to sell. There's no proof of this. But that's what's happening. This is a direct result of the governor's order. Because what the police now have is the governor's blessing and this hold my beer mentality. We thought it couldn't get any worse. We thought, okay, well, the sweeps are bad, they're killing people, and then this happened, and we saw it got worse. And it's not just affecting the homeless encampments, it's affecting all the life. It's also affecting how Sorry, my husband's calling me, it's distracting me. Give me a second. The other thing we need to remember too is that if we really want to solve this problem, it's to bring in the people like us.
Should I go get her, Jose? Okay. Um, I'm gonna have to go in a minute. But
Lucy, you're unmuted.
It's okay. I'm not done, yeah. Basically, long story short, it's time to stop using these terms like people with lived experience and start actually putting them into action. It's a great idea, it's a great term, I'm honored to be here, please don't take that the wrong way. But when we actually start getting people, not just with lived experience, with living experience, things change like that on the streets. Every day is a different surprise coming from up top. You don't know what the next FU is gonna be handed down. Case in point, the executive order. I woke up and that morning, I was like, everything was cool, I was like, it's been kind of a lull in the week, everything's great, and all of a sudden my phone starts blowing up, and like that, everything has changed. Unless you are living that, unless you are constantly having those relationships, and unless you are like on the ground, my friend Jazz, for example, I almost feel like I shouldn't even be here, I feel like she should, but she isn't here because she's on the ground. She is boots on the ground every day, all the freaking time, does not get paid, does not get any appreciation for it, gets arrested for it multiple times. People like her, people like these individuals that have mental health issues should not be being arrested. And yeah, that's it, I'm just shutting on that.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
I think what I would love to do is just thank you, Freeway, and go down the line and just, if you, I hate to do this question in an abbreviated way, but if each of you could just sort of say what one thing you are not seeing enough of or any of in encampment response that you would like to see. And then we'll break for like a quick group table discussion. Who wants to go first?
Politicians on fire to get this resolved, to take care of it.
I would like to see more street outreach and actually people that are doing their work and just doing their work. Accountability is what I'd like to see, and transparency on the roles of people that are going out there trying to get things changed or trying to help these people get off the streets, and just more humanity from the whole community, and less police presence. Police should not be involved. It's just traumatizing, and they also have their own biases, and they should be retrained also.
I would like to see the people who are supposed to be helping people get housed actually do it and not get mad when we point out that, hey, there's this document missing, that if you did it 3 months ago, they might have already been housed. It's a huge thing, and then them not coming back at us and saying, oh, I'm doing my job. Well, if you're doing your job, I just met this person 5 minutes ago, took a look in the system, and I can see that they haven't had an assessment done in a year, and they've been homeless more than a year. The date is way before that. If you're over homeless for a year, you can get housing, but they're just not doing their jobs. So I don't like being the person to poke, but I'm also another person who raises my voice, but then my boss tells me, and she takes care of it, but still. I want to see more of them being held accountable and being taught how to do their jobs and know what sustainability is. For me to turn around and ask a worker, would you want to pay 90% of your income as rent? Well, I don't pay rent. Well, I found the problem. So people need to have more experience in making sure it's sustainable housing before they step in and try to help the people and just try to shove them in any opportunity that they can't afford.
Thank you. To piggyback on what she just said, as a direct service provider, she's correct. We are always told that if one agency is helping someone, another agency decides to assist, that's called duplication of services. And my point is, because I'm working on this, they're working on that to ensure that this person, that their entire file is intact and doc ready. So if we're not doing the exact same services, but we're providing the same services, how is that duplication? But that's the point. If you're with my agency and she's helping me to take care of you, there's no reason for someone else to say this isn't done because we got two individual agencies working with you. We need to have more consolidation, coordination, communication, and more capacity to work together to ensure that the people are housed and that they are documented. I'm a housing navigator. I work with 2 site coordinators. I had to show them how to do their job. That's my point.
I want to say a huge thanks to this panel and also to Jen Oakley and Stephanie Simeon, who were willing to jump on this panel if needed without any warning. So thank all 7 of you so much.